It is Monday, October 20th, and you are watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process, folks. It's Monday, which means we're talking Habs. We're talking Habs prospects. We're talking a few prospects. What are they doing right now? How have they been doing? We're going to talk Laval Rocket, of course, because we were in attendance for the home opener. The Rocket now 3-1 to start the season. Which players are impressing us? We'll talk about all of that. And then afterwards, we're going to get to a little fantasy report. We're going to fire off a little bit of a panic meter. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. And then we're going to go digging in our mailbag as per usual. So without further ado, Sammy, let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
That's right, producer Shayne here, joined as always by my great co-host Simon, the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing great. And you, Shayne?
Excellent. I saw you were on Tony's Le Sick podcast this morning in French. Folks, if you haven't checked it out, do go have a look. Snake, how often are you going to be on there?
Well, once a week, usually every Wednesday.
Okay.
But today we made an exception. We did it on Monday, but usually it's going to be every Wednesday morning, sometimes 10:30, sometimes 11. Depends on Tony.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, that's good stuff. And I really enjoyed your segment. I think watchers as well really enjoyed it, and look forward to hearing you more often on there. And of course, you can always catch Snake on Mathias et Le Serpent on KO Sports. So don't miss that as well. But we hope you're subscribed to this show since you're watching, right? We hope you're like and trust the process, and you're sticking around with us. And Snake, this weekend was a big one for the Sick Network as a whole. Broadcasted the first game of the Laval season, the Laval Rocket home opener, right? The Cédric Blondin, Vincent Demuy were at the description, and we were all there in attendance. We were at the Fan Jam. We did a little podcast for Vincent and Cédric's podcast, right? En Mode Rocket. For our French listeners, you might want to go check that out. Even English, they're really good guys, and they do a good job. But we can talk a little bit about the Rocket this weekend. They win the first game 3-0, Jacob Fowler shutout, and then follow that up with a 5-2 win, both against the Abbotsford Canucks. Now, I need to get this off my chest, Snake, because this was basically the story of the weekend. Unfortunately, Chase Stillman with an absolute bitch move, capital B. Okay, that was disgusting on Josiah Didier, and we were front and center, Snake. We saw it happen right in front of our eyes. Absolutely disgusting from him. Credit to him, however. The following game, he did drop the gloves with Fowler, and Jack Guy answered the bell, but I thought he was going to get suspended. That, Snake, unfortunately, overshadows the rest that was good, right? Jacob Fowler shutout. Jared Davidson, Philip Meshar, they all score. It's a good game. And that shit happens.
It was a scary moment, because especially when you're just a few feet away from the ice and you see the guy, Didier, fall on his head because he has lost his helmet. And then you see blood on the ice and the stretcher. But he got up on his own. And supposedly that he wanted to go back on the ice.
What the hell, man?
That wasn't going to happen. I was concerned at first that he would have a concussion. Then when I saw blood on the ice, I was wondering, okay, what the hell is happening? Maybe it's even more serious than I thought. Unfortunately, when you have fights, these things are going to happen, because you know how it is with fights. They happen within a few seconds. And when they do happen, players react to what's happening. So sometimes it's just a millisecond. So I don't know. I don't know. Chase Stillman, does he have a reputation for being a bad guy? I don't think so. I mean, I watched him in junior hockey, and he was not tough guy or anything. But now I don't know if he's carving a niche for himself. But hopefully it was just a one-off incident.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too long on that, but I thought it was worth highlighting. I just didn't like the fact that, Didier lost his helmet, and then Stillman, basically wrestled him to the ground, slammed him, and then punched him while he was on the ground. I mean, that's
the second
big
move. Really,
no-no. Big no-no. But regardless, we move on. It's time to talk hockey now. The Rocket win 3-0. Like I said, Jacob Fowler shutout. Not like he was really tested to be. Let's be frank here. The Abbotsford Canucks were not in the game at all. This was it's never an easy shutout in professional hockey, right? But I mean, come on. Let's give Fowler his flowers. Tongue twister there, but really, what stood out to you most in his game? Because he was clearly the best.
Because it was a close game, so it's just a matter sometimes of making one or two good saves, and you keep the Rockets' lead, which was 1-0 for a long time during the game. And you and I were behind the net, so for the second period, we got to see him in action. And what struck me, because when I saw him last year at Boston College, I was sitting in the middle of the ice. So you see him from kind of a distance, but when you really watch a goalie from behind, this is how I remember appreciating how good Carey Price was when I sat behind the net a few times at the border. And I think what I really like about him, it's his quickness between moving from one post to the other. And also, I think we talked about it with Alexis and yourself the other night, how much of a fighter he is in front of the net. He's very, very aggressive when it comes to, pushing away players and retrieving pucks and pushing away the puck. And so he's very much of a fighter in his crease. And I think that's going to serve him well in the NHL because it's tough. It's, it's going to be a level higher. There was an interview with Sam Dickinson of the San Jose Sharks, and Sam Dickinson is having a rough debut in San Jose, and they asked him, on a scale of 10, where do you put, training camp and rookie camp and et cetera, and at some point he said, well, National Hockey League, it's 13 or 12 or 13 on a scale of 10.
Yeah, it's no joke.
And he put junior hockey like 2 or 3. So so look, I would put the American Hockey League maybe on a scale of 10, probably right below the NHL, maybe 8, maybe 7. But it goes to show you that Fowler is young. He's a young goalie, I would say. He's a young regular goalie, I would say, in the AHL. He's gonna turn 21 soon, or he's already turned 21. Anyway, he's playing his age 21 season. And give him a couple of more years, get more shutouts. His average is like 2 goals per game right now, although it's a very, very small sample. But they're playing on the road this weekend. Always hard to play on the road in the American Hockey League with the bus trips and the 2 games in 2 nights or 3 games in 4 nights. They have Kakanen, who can play 2. So I don't know if they play 72 games. Is 35, 40 games reasonable for Fowler this year? I think that's a reasonable number for him. Plus the playoffs, because I assume the Rocket will be in the playoffs, unless, there's a rash of injuries in Montreal and they call up the whole team, because you never know with the American Hockey League. I mean, teams can be decimated very quickly and be very good in October, November. Then come March, there are trades, there are players called up, and then, it's not the same thing. Look at Abbotsford. They were the shadow of themselves.
Yeah, no, that's it. The reigning champions, really. But they lost a bunch of players to the
NHL. That doesn't mean anything. In the American Hockey League, doesn't mean, we're not talking Florida Panthers here, even though the Panthers lost a couple of good players too. But one quick word on Abbotsford. Quite a roster of unknowns. I mean, Vitaly Kravtsov, who was drafted like a million years ago by the Rangers, trying to make his way back. But one guy I want to talk about is Tom Wielander. Tom Wielander was the 11th overall pick by the Vancouver Canucks 2 years ago. Yeah, in 2023. And 1 year after after Lane Hudson. Why do I mention Lane Hudson? Because they became partners on the blue line for one season at Boston University. And I remember watching that game again in Vermont. And you look at Hudson, razzling and dazzling, and Willander, he was the stay-at-home defenseman, making a good first pass. And you're thinking, okay, there's one guy, okay, and I was the first one, being guilty of this. You have this guy who's tiny, and he's making all these great moves, who's chosen 62nd. And you have this guy who's kind of vanilla, and he's chosen 11. And you wonder now, one won the Calder Trophy, and the other one is starting his career in the American Hockey League. Honestly, if I hadn't focused on him on Friday, I would not have noticed him. I think he'll be an NHLer, but probably, the kind of guy who scores 20 points and plays as a number 4 or number 5. But he was picked 11th overall.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you that NHL teams, they really, really go more often than not for the safe pick. And then you might ask, what is a safe pick? Well, a safe pick is usually a guy he's going to play in the NHL. Well, you never know 100%, but he has a pretty good chance of playing in the NHL. And he's not going to be a turnover machine, but his potential is limited. But if you're a chief scout, you get to keep your job because you provided the team with an NHLer. Whereas if you go for a player who's either smaller or not as fast or whatever, there's a million reasons for not choosing certain guys who are very good in junior hockey. If the guy doesn't make it and you pick him 11th overall, I mean, you're going to get really trashed for this. And look at what Jeff Molson said when he fired Trevor Timmins 4 years ago. He said, it's not acceptable that we had 2 number 3 picks that didn't pan out. So maybe comparing number 3 picks with number 11 picks is a little bit, it's not really a good comparison because
I get the point though.
There's a world of difference between number 3 and number 11. But even when you get to number 11, you're thinking, okay, I like this guy, but if I take this one, I get to keep my job. And that's too bad.
Yeah. So
I don't know what will happen with Willander. I think he'll make it. But to me, it was like, wow, this is incredible. 2 years ago, I see those two guys. One is like, one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. And the other one is just very vanilla in the American Hockey League.
We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, I concur with you. I mean, I didn't notice him one bit.
Exactly.
The game we saw Friday, but he did score on Saturday. I'll give him that.
So look, it's early in the season. I'm not gonna. Yeah. But even when I saw Boston University, I was thinking, "Wow, this guy is okay. He's fine. That's all." Yeah.
Well, who's really, really not fine, but great. Back to Jacob Fowler real quick because I really like the term you used, fighter. Right? He's combative. He's very, very competitive. He's intense, and we say that about a goalie, which is a bit odd because Habs fans think Carey Price. It's calm, it's cool, it's collected. Jacob Fowler is also pretty calm in net. It's just he's so driven, like he wants every puck. He wants to move guys in front of the net. How many times did we see him hit a guy behind the back, like standing? Like this guy fights. You know what I mean? It's a great word to use to describe Fowler, and obviously he's really one of, if not the main guy to watch in Laval this year. So it's fun to see him. It's nice to see him start off to a good start.
With Adam Engstrom, obviously.
Oh, of course.
I like Engstrom.
And Reinbacher when he comes back, yeah.
And Reinbacher, but he's not there yet. As for the forwards, I think for an American Hockey League team, it's a great bunch of forwards.
Yeah.
But for NHL, like we discussed last week, I think it was on Thursday, when forwards are still in the American Hockey League at age 22, on their third year of their entry-level contract, usually it's not a good sign. But look, the Habs, they have a lot of young forwards. It's not like they need, there's only 9 spots on the top 9 when you think about it. And, a guy like Philippe Méchard, I was thinking, he has a few points this year. And sometimes you wonder, could he could be part at some point of a trade. And I'm not saying to get a big time guy, but sometimes when you see trades, teams will send a first or a second round pick and a prospect, not necessarily an A-level prospect, but if he has a good season, maybe some teams would be tempted. Look, the Blues picked up Mailloux. So a first round picks have 9 lives. Mm-hmm. So when a guy doesn't pan out somewhere and he's been chosen 26 like Machar, one team might think, oh, well, they didn't develop him well. They didn't give him a chance. He was too far on the depth chart. Let's give it a shot. So I'm not thinking the return could be great, but he could be part of some kind of package. You never know. And so that's what I'm hoping for Machar this year, because I don't see a future for him in Montreal. I don't really see a future for him in the NHL because he is not top 6 material and he doesn't play top 6.
Yeah.
What's he going to do? He's not going to be a crash and banger on the fourth line.
No, that's it. I mean, look, Kent Hughes has shown us that he's a great asset manager, and he knows how to maximize value. So if he sees like, okay, Meshar's on a bit of a tear here, and there's demand somewhere else in the league, then yeah, he might strike. But I mean, so far it's 3 points in 4 games for Machar. So I mean, staying healthy is a big thing for him as well this year. He's really struggled with that. Unfortunately, I mean, it's just bad luck, right? Joshua Roy, 4 points in 4 games. Jared Davidson, Sean Farrell as well, 3 points in 4 games. Owen Beck, 2 points in 3 games. He got called back, however, so he missed a game.
Yeah, didn't play much on Saturday, but
that's it.
Yeah.
Florian Jackay, 2 points in 4 games. Adam Engstrom, 2 points in 4 games. That's where we stand right now with the the big prospects in Laval. Most people are producing. That's good to see. But like you mentioned, Snake, I mean, aside from, let's say, Jackay, Engstrom, right, the other guys, we might see them be part of a trade at one point. Like, if really there's demand and they're doing well in the AHL, and hey, it could fetch something good for the big club, then yeah.
I said towards the end of last year when I talked about the Laval Rocket season that Florian Jackay was probably the forward that I thought would play the most games in the NHL one day, because he can have a role, an important role. The Canadians need tough players. So if he can play hockey at the NHL level, even if it's just like 10 minutes a game, well, that's something. So I think he could last a few years, could last 4, 5, 6 years. So I always thought he was the forward with the most, with the best chance of making it, I would say. And last year he had a very high shooting percentage. So let's not fall off our chairs, if he doesn't match last year's total, because his shooting percentage was a little bit insane. But he's one guy to follow this year. He's only 21. Maybe he could play full time next year, or at least part time in the NHL next year.
That's it. I mean, I like the term nuclear deterrent, right? For those who aren't familiar, a deterrent is basically something that makes you not want to do something. You know what I mean? So basically, when Florian Jackay is in the lineup, it kind of makes you think twice before you run a guy or you take liberties on the goalie, right? That kind of player is critical. It's critical. I mean, you see with the Stanley Cup winning teams, they always have at least one nuclear deterrent that makes you think twice before you do some stupid things, right? So having 2 in the both brothers, it's especially considering the talented players, let's say, with the Habs, Lane Hudson's 5'10", Cole Caulfield's 5'8", Demidov is 6'1", okay, he can take care of himself. Suzuki's stocky guy, okay, but you know what I mean? Like, I think these types of players, it's weird to say, have more value than, let's say, a Joshua Roy, who's better offensively, but doesn't bring that nuclear deterrent element that is honestly very useful.
Well, remember a few years ago, Ryan Reeves garnered a first-round pick. He was traded for a first-round pick. Okay, Ryan Reeves, come on. I mean, he's still playing with the Sharks, scored a goal the other night, but I mean, you watch this guy. I mean, he's holding the stick so hard. You feel like he's like, oh my God, I'm holding the stick. I hope I can, I can't describe it, but those who have seen Ryan Reeves know what I'm talking about. But he was an important piece of some winning teams back in the day. But I think, contrary maybe to 30, 40, 50 years ago, you need tough guys who can play. Okay, because otherwise you're playing 5 against 4.
Exactly.
So you can't just put a guy in because he's tough. And when I say tough, I don't necessarily mean fighters. I mean, combative. I mean, hard
on the forecheck.
Hard on the forecheck.
Defense. Yeah.
Yeah. A guy who takes up space because he's big. Because there are some big guys. There are some 6'3", 6'4" guys who are very soft.
Exactly.
So, and it's like I say, it's not just a matter of fighting, because there are not that many fights in the NHL anymore, or as much less than before. So you need hockey players. But when you get a guy who can score, 5-10 goals a year, and he's a tough guy, I think you have a good bottom six. You need a good bottom six in the playoffs. That's for sure.
You need an identity. Right.
Also,
like we see these teams that don't have this identity. We can name teams as we want, but that does play a role. Take a look at the Florida Panthers. I mean, really, the point of building a team is to make it into a contender. You want to win the Stanley Cup. You don't care about winning the division. You don't care about scoring the most goals. You want to win the cup. You're building a team to win the cup. So look at the previous cup winners, right? The Florida Panthers had an identity. Okay, the Tampa Bay Lightning had an identity. The Colorado Avalanche still have an identity. Like, you know what I mean? It's very important. These types of players are critical, and a lot of Habs fans are kind of appreciating these players now, especially Jack Guy for what he brings. It's good amount of talent, but it's also really just hard-nosed hockey and
well, it's a puzzle.
We know it's a puzzle
because I don't know if you noticed, but on Saturday night at some point, the Rangers were really taking it on. I mean, they were tougher than the Habs at some point. That small window where they scored 3 goals, because it's, and look, that the Habs came very, very close to tying the game. It would have been 3-on-3 for the week. That would have been absolutely amazing. But no, I mean, look, Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, St. Louis, they're building the team piece by piece. All the pieces of the puzzle are not there yet.
No, exactly.
So, they're going to lose games, and there's going to be nights where it's harder, and people need to be patient. It's from the moment you start rebuilding. Could take 7-8 years before you have a team that reaches maturity and is ready to win the cup.
Exactly. Well, the Laval Rocket start their season 3-1, very very encouraging. And if you want to hear more about the Rocket, you can tune in on Le Sick podcast En Mode Rocket avec Cédric Blondin et Vincent Demuy. They will go in depth every week and recap the week's action for the Rocket. And you can tune in and listen to them on home games, describe the game. They do a fantastic job. Snake, I want to ask you now about a few other Habs prospects that aren't yet in the vicinity. And the first one, I want to see your reaction to this, okay? I want to ask you about Philip Eriksson for a moment.
Oh, boy.
There it is. 6th round pick in 2023. Now, people look at the numbers.
Yeah.
They see 14 points in 13 SHL games. Like, ooh, well, this is interesting. I mean, the SHL isn't a high-scoring league. These guys got over a point per game. Do we have something here? Snake, do we have something here?
Not really. But it's a 6th round pick.
It's still a win. Exactly.
I know there's a Jesper Bratt here and there who's going to make it out of the 6th round and become a star. But Philip Eriksson, let's not be too hard on the guy. He was a 6th round pick. I just think that, it's very, very, the SHL, I find, is a league where it's very hard to judge players, especially when they're past the age of 20. So sometimes you can see a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, he's playing in the SHL. And there's a way of trying to evaluate what kind of player he's going to be because he's younger and he's playing against older guys. So you might have an idea. Although it's a big rink, it's a bigger rink than in the NHL. It's not the same style of play. So you're hoping for international tournaments to see them play against North American players to get a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, the reason is, past the age of maybe 20 or even 21, they sort of become fixtures in Sweden, and they adopt this style of play, which and it becomes harder and harder for them to come to America, readjust, and when they come to America, there's always 20. They're always like 22, 23, 24, and rarely have these guys become great in the NHL. Usually good Swedish players. I know you're going to talk about Pavel Datsyuk or Henrik Zetterberg, but that's 20 years ago. We're talking now. What I've noticed, and that is something we could talk about on a future podcast. We'll take maybe perhaps, I don't know, the top 15 or top 20 Swedish players in the NHL. And when did they arrive here? What was their path to the National Hockey League? What round were they drafted? Because what I've noticed is that there's a lot of Swedish guys throughout the NHL. They, except for last year, they are very popular at the draft. When teams take a flyer on a player in their third, fourth, fifth, sixth round, because they are darts really that you're throwing, they always have a tendency to go for, let's say, a Swedish player or even a Finnish player before they take a guy from Canadian junior hockey. Why? Because Canadian junior hockey players are pretty easy to evaluate, because the style of play is very similar to that of the NHL. And then what you do is that very quickly you can identify a guy and say, although you're not going to be right 100% of the time, but very easy, you can very much identify a future NHL player or someone who has a chance. So come the sixth round, you have on your list some guys from Canada or the States, or they're not going to make it. And, why not take this guy? Because he scored 20 goals in 18 games in the Swedish Junior Division 2 League. Why not? Let him develop in Sweden. You never know when he turns 22. That's really the reasoning behind these picks. Do I agree? No. But like I say, I'm going to do a little research about these Swedish players. Maybe we can talk about it on Thursday. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm totally off track. Maybe it's just like a preconceived idea that I have. So I want to validate it. But usually, now, why Eriksson, I think, couldn't make it? Look, it's hard to describe, because the guy is not electrifying. He's not dominant. And if you're going to come to America from Europe at that age, you have to have been dominant before. The guy is not dominant. Like I was thinking, maybe it's not the same country, it's not the same league, but Maxim Shabanov, he was dominant in the KHL last year. He's an older player. He's an older rookie. He plays for the Islanders. He's very small. He's not bad. Scored a goal. And I watched him play because I watched the Islanders because of Matthew Schaefer. I'm totally enamored with this guy.
What a player.
I was last year, but I'm really shocked about what he's doing so far. But let's finish with Eriksson first. So Shabanov, you can tell that it's a big step. And the guy was dominant in Russia.
Yeah.
So how can a guy like Eriksson, who's good but not dominant in Sweden, can necessarily arrive here and be great? Again, I'm playing the odds. One day there will be a player like this who will come up to Montreal or another team, and he scored 25 goals, and people will say, well, you see, Snake, this guy made it. Look, I'm not...
It's not impossible.
It's not... Look, it's never impossible.
Exactly.
But when I do predictions on players, I play the odds. And what I see from Eriksson, because it's hard. If Eriksson were playing in Laval, I mean, I could have a snap judgment and just tell you yes, no, like we do, with Beck and Machar and all these guys. in Sweden, you really know. But I think he's not necessarily the moves that he makes in Sweden are maybe not transposable to the NHL. But if he had 50 points in 20 games, then I would say, oh, okay, let's watch out. But the guy's a point per game player in the SHL. So what do we expect? But again, I'll do a little research. We'll discuss it on Thursday.
I'm interested in that. That'll be a good discussion. I want to hear your findings there. Staying in Europe now, but let's talk a bit about a bit more electric player, Alexander Zborowski.
Oh yeah,
what a fun player to watch! And 7 points in 8 games in the KHL this year, but with limited ice time again, as we're accustomed to with young players in the KHL. But he's still found a way. He's still finding ways to produce, making an impact on games. What have you seen from him? Has he continued to impress you so far?
Yeah, because 7 points in 8 games, and they were well-deserved points.
There you go.
It was not just a second assist where he gave the puck to some guy who went through, went all over the ice and passed it to another guy who puts it in. No, he really did plays. The guy made plays. And it's interesting because the game where he only played 4 minutes, he got a couple of penalties early in the game. And probably the coach didn't like it. And he left him off the bench. And when they were losing towards the end of the game, puts him back on. He gets a goal and an assist. So it also shows that Zborowski, instead of just pouting, when he went back on the ice, it was like, I'll show you.
Exactly.
And this is what I like. And this guy has moves. I was talking about transposable moves. This guy has transposable moves to the NHL. A guy with hands like his. I said it last year before the draft. Top 3 hands in the draft.
Yeah.
And I ranked in 17. And really, today, I kind of regret it. I should have ranked him higher.
Yeah.
I should have ranked him higher. Yeah, but sometimes you're always worried, maybe he had played junior hockey, I would have had him in the top 10. But, they play in some junior Russian league. You never know. He finished a year in the KHL. He was good, but he wasn't like the fastest guy. So you're thinking, okay, let's maybe. So because I ranked some players in front of him. And some guys I'm looking at right now, and I go, okay, I don't think they'll have as good a career as Zborowski will have. But the hands are absolutely wonderful. I mean, people love Demidov's moves. They're gonna see more of the same.
Oh, wow, that's fun.
So you see, I'm very objective. I mean, I'm not gonna praise every prospect. I'm not gonna trash every prospect. There are ones that I love. There are ones that I don't like as much, and that's that's what makes me, I would say, unbiased. I would say
that's the purpose of this show, right? We want to give the real stuff. Okay, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're not bought by the Habs. Okay, like we're going to tell you the real things. If there's a prospect that doesn't look good, we're going to tell you. If there's one that really looks good, we're going to tell you. Okay?
And look, so who knows? In 5 years, Zborowski might be in Laval, and Eriksson could score 20 goals with the Habs.
It's the hardest thing to do. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know, okay, this guy's going to put up 55 points in his rookie season. No. We don't know, right? We're trying to
project. It's fun.
We're talking about what we're seeing now. And like you say, Snake, how it's transposable to the NHL level. Okay, we've got years and years of data. You've been doing this for a long time, and you're good at it. So this is what we offer. Another prospect I'd like to talk about now, Hayden Papanikis, right? He was picked by the Habs in 2025. He missed the rookie showcase because of mono, and he missed the start of the season as well. Anyone who's had mono knows it's not fun. It's kind of hard to play through. And he's got 2 points in 3 games so far. Have you kind of kept track a little bit of what he's done in Kelowna since his return?
Well, I've only watched him last year, when he was traded to Kelowna so I could evaluate for him for his draft year. This is on my to-do list to see what he's doing because I know he's been back. I want to give him a few games, because mono is tough. Only Matthew Schaefer can come back from mono and dominate. Remember last year? Yeah. So I'm gonna look. My assessment of Papanakis, he's a third-round pick. Okay, so right away, a third-round pick. You're starting to throw darts out there. Very few make it. Out of 32 picks in the third round on average every year, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys maybe have a career. More than 300-400 games. So I'm not telling you this guy is going to make it. I'm not telling you he won't make it. But one thing I can tell you is that after he was traded last year to Kelowna, it was he was not as good as with Spokane, I would say. So, but again, he's a guy who's 6'5", and Kelowna last year had a pretty bad team. I think he was -28, but to me that doesn't mean anything. But it was harder, and this year is going to the Memorial Cup because Kelowna is hosting. So they're
loading up too.
They're loading up right now.
Yep.
Look, a 6'5" forward who can score goals. No, because he's not bad at scoring goals. You can write him out, but it's a long way to the top, I think, for him. I remember last year I liked Bryce Pickford, and the Habs picked him, and but my pick instead of Papanakis would have been Cooper Simpson.
Yeah,
and Cooper Simpson right now is the top scorer in the USHL for whatever that means, because I don't think it's that strong of a league. But he's going to North Dakota next year, and this is the guy I would have picked instead of Papanakis. But look, the Habs are trying to get bigger. I don't blame them. You go a 6'5" forward you can score is a good dart to throw.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Well, we'll keep an eye on him. Happy to see him back, producing and healthy, and on a good Kelowna team. So that hopefully that'll work in his favor. And let us know, folks, in the comment section, who's the prospect that's impressed you this week or so far this season? We want to hear your thoughts. Who's a Habs prospect you're really high on? Maybe we haven't talked about him yet. Let us know in the comments. Snake, before we move on, of course, it's time to give a big thank you to our partners who make this show possible. And I want to start with Cheapest T-shirts. Folks, it's simple. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Cheapesttshirts.ca is the go-to source for teams, businesses, events, apparel printing companies, and resellers. And it's also perfect for individual shoppers who just want the best deals on everyday apparel. Plus, enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And of course, don't select the bust with Betway. Get a deposit match-up bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. And with that, it's time for the Fantasy Report. Okay, we're going to play a little game this week, Snake. And we're going to do a panic meter from 1 being I'm not worried at all to 10 being sound the alarm. Okay, I'm going to give you some players that have underperformed this season, and you're going to give me the panic meter. Okay, let's start.
And by the way, I don't know who they are.
No, that's it.
So we haven't discussed
this on purpose. I did this on purpose.
Yeah,
okay?
That's good.
Let's start with Matvei Michkov.
Yes.
1 goal in 5 games.
Yes.
Last season had 63 points in 80 games. Where are we headed here?
For the season, basically?
What's the panic? Like, if you're a fantasy manager and you have Matvei Michkov on your team and you see he's got 1 goal in 5 games, are you worried?
On a panic meter, I would say I'm at 4.
Okay, not bad.
Which I think is quite high, because normally it should be 0 or 1. But the reason why I react this way is because Rick Tocchet is the coach, and Michkov might not be his type of guy. So what if he ends up in the doghouse? So it could be a season. It could be. I'm saying it could be a season where Michkov's production goes down. But look, I like Michkov, so I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too, for Sammy's sake, because that's his favorite team. So he needs to help the Flyers. Okay, Matvei Michkov is a 4, so that means maybe hold on for now, see what happens.
See what, maybe another 5-10 games. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to a guy I mentioned before, Nikolai Ehlers.
Yes,
still on the goose egg. No points in 5 games. However, he's still on the first line, first power play. And that first line, I mean, Aho and especially Seth Jarvis have been really good to start the season. Do you think it's going to pick up at some point, or are you just done with him?
He's not going to stay at 0. So obviously, if some guy panics and wants to trade it to you for like a 6th-round pick, I mean, you jump at the opportunity.
For sure.
But I think the fact that Carolina, watched them the other night against San Jose and Anaheim, they have a very, very well-balanced lineup. And so they don't just rely on that first line, and they don't necessarily rely on Ehlers. So at some point, he could be removed from PP1. So for this year, considering the team, considering the type of player that he is, remember in Winnipeg, he was a sheltered 3rd liner. He was sheltered because there are holes in his game. So my panic meter for him for this year, 8 on 10.
Okay, we're scared here. We're scared. He did put up 63 points in 69 games last year. So I think a lot of people have hopes. I am one of those people. I think he can get it going. I'm on the other side. I think I would give him about a 2. But then again, that 2 is Rod Brind'Amour. Okay, this guy is just so unpredictable. He will switch up his lineup on a dime.
Yeah,
that scares me. But
don't be surprised if he ends up with 40 points this year.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Now, one player I really like who has not done too well this year, Brandon Hagel. 1 assist in 6 games. Last year had 90 points in 82 games.
Yeah.
Panicked are we, Snake?
Well, I think the 90 points season was an aberration, really. I know he always progressed in tempo. He went like from 60 some points to 75 to 90. He's still a young player. I think that things will get better. I don't think he'll get to 90 points. Might not even get to 75. But this is not the look, on a panic meter, could it be a down year for him? I doubt it. Panic meter 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too panicked. Not too panicked. All right. Now, next guy. My money. Top 15 center of the league. He's excellent. Robert Thomas. 1 goal and 1 assist in 5 games. Last year, had 81 points in 70 games.
Yeah.
He was on a complete tear. This year, a little slower out the gate. How worried are we?
Well, now that Mayu has been sent to the stands, the press box, maybe he'll keep going. No, I'm kidding. Is there a 0 on your scale of?
There is
0. Panic level 0. Right. Look, 2 points in 5 games. I mean, next game he could get 3 points. The other game 2 points, and then next week you're going to say, "Oh, he's a point per game player." So now this is really, really, really a snap judgment on your part to include him in this segment. I would say
because some people are like, what's going on here? You had 81 points in 70 games last year.
I know, but it's only 5 games. It's only 5 games into the season.
That's
Look,
why
I watched him play a couple of games. I think he was fine. I don't see any issues with him. The points will come.
I love Robert Thomas. I have him on one of my team, and I am not selling him. Excellent player. He will come back. Don't worry. Now, this is a big one here. The guy that most people are panicked about.
Yeah.
Evan Bouchard. 0 points in 6 games.
Yeah.
Last year had 67 in 82.
Yeah.
Right. He's on a very offensively minded team. He is an offensively minded defenseman. Obviously, the turnovers don't really factor in. Don't factor in fantasy, but offensively, he's got nothing going on. How are we?
Look, considering his contract, it's mind-boggling that the Edmonton Oilers would keep this guy, considering that they need cap space, considering that, anybody can play the point on the power play with McDavid, Draisaitl, and company. I think this guy is he benefits from a situation that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, good for him. He's a very rich man because of this. Nothing against the guy. I don't know him, but I do think that he's really not a good player overall. He's good in the offensive zone, I would say, but very nonchalant, not a fast skater, tons of turnovers. I know some Edmonton Oilers fans who really, really don't like him as a player. But for your question about fantasy hockey, since he plays on the power play, since who else is going to play on the power play? The defensive core in Edmonton is not great. It's better than it used to be, but it's not great. So my panic level, I would say, is like 1.
Whoa.
The points will come.
Yeah.
But he'll still be a bad player overall, but the points will come, I think, for fantasy hockey.
Okay. Yeah. So hold on to Evan Bouchard. He will pop off. That's what Snake is saying.
I think
Good to know. Next up, we're staying with the defenseman now. Josh Morrissey, defenseman I really like.
Yeah.
1 assist in 5 games. Last year had 62 points in 80 games. How worried are we?
Well, I think he'll be good for 50 maybe. So I would go with a 2. Yeah.
Okay.
On your scale. Yeah.
So hold on to Josh Morrissey. Next up, another defenseman, Mikhail Sergachev. 0 points in 6 games. Has done nothing so far. Last year had 53 points in 77 games. Really good season for him. Is it a little concerning?
I would say in Utah, they sort of like transformed the team over the years, if you know what I mean, in the sense that they made trades to get players, and it kind of changes the dynamics in the sense of who's going to be used in what situation, and so I don't know Sergachev. Put him on the panic level. I would say 5 or 6, maybe even 6. Yeah.
So there's a bit of.
It could be a down year for him production wise. I think he's a good player. No worries, but I think production wise, it could be a down year for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A little panicked about Sergachev. Now I had to include a goalie as well. Ilya Sorokin.
Yeah.
It's been tough to start this season. 1 win. 16 goals allowed in 4 starts. He's got an .861 save percentage. Very bad. Last season, however, he had 30 wins. He had a .907, 61 starts. Like, he was a solid fantasy goalie. This year, it's been poo-poo.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about him because it just so happens that I watch every Islanders games this year.
Matthew Schaefer, baby.
Yeah, of course. Because I would not have watched every Islanders game in the last 40 years, honestly, since their Stanley Cup days.
Yeah.
No. But with Schaefer, there must see TV. And because the boys have this guy. I mean, and I just want to open a little parentheses here.
Of course.
With Schaefer. He was my favorite player from wire to wire last year. I remember I was one of the first draft analysts, to put him to rank him number 1. And then he got injured, and then it didn't matter that he was injured. They picked him number 1. It didn't hurt his stock at all. But when I was asked about my Calder Trophy prediction, my top 3, I did not rank him in the top 3 because I really thought that an 18-year-old defenseman going on a, average team and having not played since Christmas, so we're talking 10 months, how can he be so good? So I thought it was going to be the type of year where his minutes would be monitored. He would probably watch a few games in the press box, like they did with Leo Carlson in Anaheim. I really thought that he was going to be quite sheltered.
Yeah.
Man, the guy, he skates up and down constantly. It's like he has electric skates, because it's effortless. But what strikes me is that at 18, he's not afraid to just carry the puck and come back. He'll make mistakes, 2-on-1s, sometimes coverage, of course. But he's worth the price of admission. I am shocked about his season so far. It's also it's only 5 games in, so let's not give him the Calder Trophy right away. But his poise is absolutely amazing. So that being said, I watched the Islanders. They play quite an open brand of hockey with Patrick Roy. And so I don't know about Sorokin's numbers. They lost their first 3 games. They won 2 games, but it's kind of wide open. They give up a lot of goals. They score goals. It's I would say Sorokin. I would say I don't know what stats you're talking about with goalies. Are you talking about save percentage? Are you talking about wins?
Yeah, it's wins, it's goals allowed, it's saves, and it's shutouts. So goals allowed loses you points. Saves obviously gets you points.
Yeah, I would say on the panel, I would say 3. Let's say he's a good goalie. He didn't suck necessarily this year. But he plays for a team that plays a wide open game. So I would say 4. Yeah.
There you have it, folks. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions about your fantasy team, whatever you want to know. I will try to help you, and I'll give you an answer there in the chat. But right now, it's time to go digging in the mailbag. Our question today comes from Habs Enthusiast. Great name. Basically asking now, giving us 3 different scenarios and asking for, I guess, the optimal development path for European defensemen. So the first being draft +1 and draft +2 in Europe, not the KHL. The second option being draft +1 in Europe, draft +2 in the AHL. Or the third option being draft +1 and draft +2 in the AHL. It's asking which option do you think is best for offensive and defensive defensemen. Let's also take the family and school out of the condition because we basically know it's kind of better for them mentally to stay close to home as long as possible. Let's keep this on the screen for a second, Sammy, if you don't mind. Snake, give us your thoughts on this question.
Yeah, I think this is a very nuanced, interesting question. Very, very, very good. First of all, the cop-out answer is case-by-case basis, okay? Yeah. But I usually don't use that type of answer. I'm opinionated, so I'm going to tell you what I think I would do. First of all, whether it's offensive or defensive, I don't really categorize either. I mean, I'll just put them in the same pot, offensive and defensive. But ideally, if you look at guys who are drafted in the first, second round, ideally D+1 in Europe, the 18-year-old season, and the 19-year-old season in the American Hockey League.
Yeah.
And if the guy is a late birthday who turns 19 during the fall of his draft +1 year, right away I send him to the American Hockey League. Which means that, let's say for Reinbacher a couple of years ago, I understand the circumstances why they wanted to leave him in Switzerland, but it didn't turn out to be good because there were some coaching changes and everything. They kind of didn't have control over his development. I would have sent him to Laval right away, although I understand why they did it. But that's for in general. If you have an exceptional player, you can send him to the AHL at age 18. but that's rare. It's more good for forwards, like Buffalo did it last year with Anton Elenius. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember the Kings did it with Slava Voinov, who was unfortunately, returned to KHL because of the domestic incident that happened. And he was kind of banned, I think, from the NHL, or teams didn't want to bring him back. But that's not the point. Hockey-wise, this is a guy who played at the age of 18 in the American Hockey League. It was very good for him. He became a good defenseman with the Kings, but he was kind of like he was a very talented guy. Now, keeping the guys for 2 years in Europe. Look, if you see any kind of NHL potential in the guy, I would never do that. But, if you're a 7th round pick and there are so many roster spots in the AHL, look, you just leave him in Europe. But if a guy, if you see NHL potential, bring him here at least at his age 19 season.
I like it.
So I hope that answers our listener's question.
Yeah, and what a great question by Habs Enthusiast. Please,
it was very good. Yeah,
send in all your questions, folks. We try to get to one every single show, so send them in the chat there, and we'll rifle through them. And if you're not yet subscribed, please do turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. And hype the show. It does work. Okay, click the hype button if you enjoyed the show. Snake, I want to end with this picture here that we took at the Fan Jam at the Laval Rocket home opener. You see the entire sick crew. What a team this is. I mean, look at that. Look at that. We got Joey, Juliana, Sammy and Yellow, myself, yourself, Cedric, Vincent, Mark at the bottom there, Tony, Alexis, and Liam. What a team. What a team. And this was a great time. Thank you to the Laval Rocket for letting us have our little space, of course, at the Fan Jam. And thank you to everybody who stopped by as well. We had great interactions with all the fans there. So, folks, this has been so much fun, and we're going to keep going every Monday and Thursday. We will be back on Thursday again. I hope you're not sick of us, because we're not sick of this. Pun intended. Snake, anything else to add before we wrap up?
Note, I'm going to be in Potsdam, New York this weekend, Friday and Saturday. North Dakota is playing Clarkson University.
Oh, yeah.
It's only 2 hours away from Montreal, 2-hour drive, driving towards Cornwall and then going down to the States. So if you guys ever want to come and see me between periods, I will be there on Friday and Saturday, Clarkson University against North Dakota. Keaton Verhoff, probably a top 3 pick in the NHL draft. Cole Reshny, first pick of Calgary. And also Will Zellers for Boston Bruins fans. He's a very, very highly touted prospect. I like him a lot. So it should be a fun week.
Ooh, look forward to hearing about that. That's going to be fun. Well, that'll do it for us on this Monday. For Snake, I'm producer Shayne. Thank you to Sammy and Yellow and Joey back at Master Control. This has been another great edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you on Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.